In the midst of a doping scandal, the International Doping Committee is telling the world not to overreact. It says Russian athletes who can demonstrate a clean record free of doping should be allowed to compete. CCTV's Dan Williams has insight.
All smiles for the International Olympic Committee's executive board. But ahead of the members, a packed and complicated agenda. One of the key issues remains doping. Russia's track and field athletes are currently banned from competition following an investigation by the World Anti-Doping Agency. The report accused Russia of systematic state-sponsored doping, leading many to call for a blanket ban to remain in place for Rio. But not everyone has sympathy for that stance.
If they come from a country that has a bad record, if they can establish to the Federation and WADA's satisfaction that they have been tested on a regular basis outside of Russia and that they've got biological passport details that are normal and all of those sorts of things, it'll be on them. They'll have to satisfy, but they should be entitled to compete.
The other recent doping development centres on the 54 samples from the 2008 and 2012 Olympic Games that tested positive for banned substances, following a retesting programme. The names of the athletes who failed the test are expected next week. It's not just the doping issue that is dominating the minds of IOC executive board members. There are a number of other challenges that are also of genuine concern, not least the impact of the Zika virus on Rio 2016. Last week, 150 medical experts, academics and scientists sent an open letter to the World Health Organization, saying the Games could speed up the spread of the mosquito-borne disease. But the Rio Organising Committee is playing down such concerns.
There are not a public health risk with Zika. It's important that they decrease the number because also in August that's not it's in our winter. It's different than from the summer.
That view was echoed by the IOC.
That we follow the recognised global authority on health, which is the World Health Organization, which everyone would expect a sporting organisation to follow the advice of the authority. We continue to do that.
The IOC also spoke of its confidence that the Rio Games are now on track. But with some athletes pulling out over the fear of the Zika virus and others set to be banned, one of the key questions remains just who will be lining up when the competition starts.
And joining us from Geneva is CCTV correspondent Dan Williams. And Dan, lots of recent allegations involving the IOC, from doping to potential bribery. How is the IOC handling all of this?
You're absolutely right. There are a number of very difficult, very complex questions that the IOC are grappling with as it stands right now. And certainly key among them would be the issue of doping. And at the forefront of that remains Russia, which, of course, the Russian track and field athletes remain banned as it stands right now. The IAAF implementing that ban following a corruption scandal, a widespread cover-up, it would appear, according to the World Anti-Doping Agency report. And so that ban is currently in place. It's currently in place for the Rio Olympics. The IAAF will make a decision later this month as to whether to keep that ban in place for Rio. And then the IOC will then make their decision as to whether to allow these athletes to compete. But of course, the IOC, the Olympic movement, is all very much about trying to allow all clean athletes to compete. So as much as they are looking to try and allow clean athletes from around the world, to give them reassurances that they're doing all they can to keep the sport clean. So it would also be unfair for a Russian athlete that has no evidence of any kind of doping at all to be banned. And of course, there are then questions of legality as well. So certainly doping, the question of doping, the question of bans are very much at the forefront of the IOC as they're having this board meeting here in Lausanne.
It's interesting you run up Rio, and that's an even more immediate concern. There's all these questions about the Zika virus involving the upcoming Summer Games in Brazil. Some outside experts even going as far as to suggest that athletes shouldn't even go. Combine that with concerns about stadiums and water quality. Are these games in trouble?
As it stands, and the very much the public face from this, from the IOC, from Rio organisers, is that no, absolutely not. It's very much business as usual. We heard from the chief organisers of Rio 2016, and they say that come August time, when the Rio Games is on, that the Zika virus will not be in any way an issue. Of course, it's during the winter months. It's when the mosquitoes are less prevalent across the country, so therefore they are playing down that fear. And as far as the IOC are concerned, and as far as the Zika virus is concerned, they're saying, well, the World Health Organization says there is no reason at this stage to postpone or to cancel the Rio Olympics. So it's very much galloping on as you would hope organisers are doing. They've played down fears of any political fallout, whether that will interrupt the Rio Games. They're playing down any issues of readiness. The velodrome, which is the last key installation that is behind schedule, that will now be ready, according to organisers, 2 months before the Olympics. So as it stands, from what we're being told, and what the IOC are saying, is that this will be a Rio Games to remember. But of course, the proof will come August, when the Rio Games gets underway, and we will see for ourselves, of course.
Yeah, I think it's almost a rite of passage. I remember that before the Sochi Games, there was all these controversies. Would they be ready in time? And you've been covering sports for more than 2 decades now, from the IOC to FIFA. These corruption scandals just seem to keep on coming. How do you think this is impacting overall interest in the world of sport? At some point, folks just think it's all rigged.
I think there will be a number of onlookers that will be getting weary of all of these scandals that consistently crop up and have come along over the last 2 years or so. Certainly, as you mentioned, FIFA there's also, of course, in the recent past, some issues with the IOC, as well as a whole range of other sports as well. I think it's important to split between administration and sport itself. And certainly on the administration side, sport has been terribly let down by a number of instances, a number of proven cases of corruption. And as I say, if countries around the world, they're looking at bidding for future World Cups, future Olympics, future other sporting events, and there's certainly a question mark for taxpayers as to whether all of this is worth it. But the bottom line, the beauty of sport is to what everyone enjoys and what it's all about. Of course, when you watch a story like Leicester City in the English Premier League winning the Premier League title, and it really brings back the romance of what it's all about. And as long as those stories continue, then sport will continue to have a vibrant future. But if it continues to get dragged down in terms of corruption, in terms of doping, if people are watching a sporting event and they're not sure how accurate that is, how reliable the athletes are, whether it's genuine, then those question marks will continue. And we've seen it with cycling, and we've seen it with other sports as well. And once those questions continue and the integrity of the sport is undermined, then of course people question and turn on to other things.
Tan Williams joining us from Geneva, Switzerland. Thanks so much.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.